What's going on, everyone? I'm StarScript founder Zach James, and I'm sitting here today with Abhi Thati, one of my good friends. He's a digital artist, and we're going to be exploring his journey, what inspires him, and what kind of projects he's currently working on. So thanks for joining us. All right,
What's
Abhi,
up?
how's it going?
Pretty good. Good.
Good.
Glad to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah. I'm really happy to have you on, and we definitely want to feature some of your work also in the podcast today. So that's going to be, I think, exciting for everybody to see what kind of stuff you're working on. So why don't you, let's start out with just kind of you telling us how you got started.
How I got started doing the digital art that I do. Goes back probably like 10 years or so when I went to a school, digital arts / technical school, like computer. I got a degree in computer animation, and that's when I think I was propelled into the digital art world, both 2D and 3D, and a lot of the direction I decided to take as far as the art I made after was definitely like heavily influenced by music, such as Tool.
Okay.
And a lot of actually I discovered Alex Gray through Tool, and he's been a huge influence since. And so I kind of went into that like visionary direction with my digital art. So I guess that's about the inception of.
Okay, and which school did you go to?
I went to Full Sail in Florida, in Orlando.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then you moved out here? Were you from here originally? And then...
My home in the States would be Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't hear the accent.
No, I'm kind of international. It's weird. Like I'm just kind of mishmash of everything. It kind of comes out sometimes, depending. Yeah.
Okay. And with that school, so what kind of? Because I think digital art is. It's such a broad term, such a general term. So what specifically, when you went to school, like what kind of programs were you using? What were you creating?
Yeah. So I did a computer animation program. So it's mostly 3D for production for film and TV and stuff. So mainly, Maya was the big one, and then ZBrush for more of the creative side of production, the sculpting and such, for sculpting and texturing. So those are the two big ones. We went even further into the production pipeline as far as compositing, like the end of it. We used a program. It's still used, a program called Nuke, which was a really, really big one.
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, that's kind of the standard in the industry now, and it's been that way for a while. But yeah. I mean, I can keep going. But
did when you were like going through school, did you have an idea of what style or what type of art that you wanted to create? Was it a specific genre? Was it like human figures? Was it landscapes?
I was. So I come from, like, my parents stereotypically are doctors.
Okay.
And so like anatomy is kind of like a thing that I like just gravitated towards. So when I picked up ZBrush, I just started sculpting heads and like it just kind of came naturally to me as far as hitting all the anatomical marks and making whatever the piece of digital clay look like a human being or like an animal or whatever. So that was kind of what piqued my interest initially. In that. And
that's why you're inspired by Alex Gray, probably also because he's very much into the human anatomy. I think I don't know if you walk in, you saw I've got the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors shots where it shows like all the different systems in the body, like the circulatory, muscular, skeletal, things like that. So he's really deep in anatomy, and then I'm sure like Da Vinci probably would be somebody else.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that was what piqued my interest, and then I discovered this wizard of an artist named Android Jones in that era, like 10 years ago. I just randomly ran into him, but saw his work online. I was like, whoa, this is like Alex Gray, but like future, and like, like it's crazy how he can take these like very simple shapes and make them into this like collage, this abstract collage. So that kind of pushed me more towards digital painting side of things while I was in school, actually. So I was kind of I had like two different interests peaked at that time. So I picked up, this program called Corel Painter, and along with Photoshop, and then the 3D, started kind of creating my own pipeline, and like obviously learning from him and several other digital artists at the time, and that's kind of where I still am actually when it comes to my personal art. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then what about so it's basically like the whole human body and all the animation that you're doing like currently is dealing with the human body, or you're doing animals or
I'm doing
creatures?
Anything right now. Like I can make a car. Like
okay.
I don't like to, but I mean, the place that I work at right now, we kind of I'm a character artist. So like it's not the most glamorous thing in the world, but it's mostly a lot of people, and then you have to do the clothing for them and the shoes, and like it comes down to like the minute little detail stuff. But,
is the concept, so I just had Rita on here, Rita Lichtward on here a few weeks ago, and she's a concept artist. Are you doing concept artwork, or is the concept art done and then it goes to you next?
Yeah, I'm on the production side at work. But on my own, I'm a concept artist, and I take it to I execute the entire thing. So if I want to like rig it and animate it, I could do that on my own. I'm mostly like, so for work, more production side. The concepts are handed down to us. Rarely you'll get an opportunity at work where they'll be like, all right, we don't know what this is, so like here, just give us a couple of iterations and we'll pick one.
Right.
But it's a TV studio. It's like everything's super fast. That doesn't happen that often. But for my personal work, it's all me. Like from the beginning to the end.
And you were just in school recently, weren't you? Like 3 years ago or something? You went to what was that school called?
So I went to school again, Noman School of Visual Effects. It's like one of the top schools in the world, I think, for visual effects and everything under the belt of visual effects. So, Yeah, it's kind of like an upgrade for me.
It was.
It had been a while, and so when I moved out here, I kind of did my own thing. Didn't quite, get my foot into the industry like I had hoped. So I started working on my own artwork, and started showing at festivals, at galleries, like Hive Gallery, like a couple of galleries out here. And I was also doing visuals at the time for DJs and bands and such. So that's kind of what I was doing for a while there. Yeah.
I think I actually remember I think I had met you really just for like very shortly. I met you somewhere, I can't remember where it was, maybe it's through Rodica or something, and then like the next time I saw you was like at Zanzibar or something like that.
Movement.
Doing the visuals for that. So what's that like, doing like the live like visual art for?
It's awesome. It's like you're mixing light instead of sound, and that's kind of like when I kind of like figured when I kind of felt that when I there was a few times where I hit like flow state doing visuals, and that's what kind of clicked for me. I was like, this is cool, there's something to it, because like a musician's like, or he's mixing sound or he's playing sound, I'm playing with light. And it's like a light DJ. Awesome. It's awesome.
Or
like
a light jockey, LJ.
LJ, okay, I'll take that. And the thing that I liked about it the most is the sound reactivity component of it. Because there's a lot of VJs, visual jockeys, that just kind of play clips, right? And it's not really interactive with the sound. And so that was kind of like the thing that really got me stuck on it for a while. Yeah. So, and I'm still interested in it. It's kind of put it aside for a little.
But you're not like currently doing like live visuals.
Not really. That. I'm currently working in this next year on creating like custom content, and then maybe get back into it that way. But yeah.
And then can you like kind of take everyone through just like the creative process of like for basically your current role? I think you went briefly went over sort of how it starts with the concept art stage. So we're still talking about what you're doing as a profession right now. The concept artists, they go through all these different iterations pretty much of how whoever's in control of the creation process wants things to look. And then once that gets approved, and then it goes into production, it goes to you, someone like you, and then you go through like tell me about the process.
So I'll break down the 3D digital production side of it, because it's kind of cool. There's this idea of a person, and like a concept artist like either sketches the idea or whatever, and then they're handed to the 3D artist, who, depending on the character, sometimes you get scan data, like actual scanned of the celebrity in the costume or whatever, and then you rebuild the character based on that, and you build everything down to like the clothing or whatever, and then you hand it off to the rigger, who basically gives that character who's been rebuilt.
It's like a 3D model at that point.
Yeah, a 3D model. The rigger gives it a skeleton, right? And then that's handed to the animator, and he animates it to the shot that character is playing in the scene.
And for like, this is just me learning, but for like facial expressions and things like that, someone goes through and probably just makes all of these different facial expressions.
Yeah.
And then do those facial expressions just get reused once they're created? Like this person angry, it looks like this. This is like kind of the movement. And then is just technology at a point to where basically all of that info you can like reuse it in some way, or basically
definitely. There's a simpler way to do that, which is like, the animator just tries to match the expression of the person in the shot depending on how blurry it is or how close or far it is. And then there's more advanced where they have those cameras with like the dots on the face, and it's literally motion capture for the face. So there's like a range of things you can do there.
Okay. Let's go into your like the stuff you're working on just on a personal standpoint. So you have your day job, which you're lucky enough to have a day job where you're doing the same type of work. I think there's a lot of people who are, I guess the classic one is waiter at a restaurant, and then you're trying to have the passion project of, let's say, being a visual artist. You're past that whole stage, and you're actually a visual artist or digital artist as a profession. But then you have your passion project that you're working on, or a passion project. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I like to do a lot of like 2D compositions. That's kind of where I like to spend a lot of like I like to paint, but then so that's kind of like, those are my babies. My paintings are my babies, and like they're simple in the sense that you don't have to have an animator. You don't have to have a large render farm to render out a clip. It's just a painting at the end of the day, and you get to put your blood, sweat, and tears in it until you like it. And I like the simplicity of that. So that's what I try to spend most of my time doing on a personal level. But these days I've been using a lot of 3D that I've learned through my job and through school. Because it's so powerful. It's the crazy stuff you can do these days, and render out these concepts in 3D, and then all I'm getting is a still image to use in the composition for my painting. So I like create all this chaos and see what I can push and pull from.
And when you say painting, you're not talking about like oil and acrylics?
No, it's all digital.
Digital
painting.
I'm
digital painting. Like I'm using a tablet with a pen. I use programs such as Photoshop and Corel Painter. To anything I can get my hands on, really. But And
then your end product is just a still?
It's a still. Depending on where my interest is at the time, I could like I said, I am interested in creating more like animated content also
on your own
on my own. So on that note, not to like switch on you, but
nope, you're good.
There's this amazing program called Houdini, which is like industry, like film TV industry standard, like it's like the badass program where the buildings are coming down, monsters stepping through cities, smoke, explosions, particles, lightning, all that stuff. This program does it, and the potential that program has is unbelievably awesome for like visionary artists. And I want to tap into that.
Is it like something that's cheap, or is it open source? Is it open source?
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap.
But if you're clever, you can get your hands on it.
Because there's some programs out there that are like $5-10 grand or something, right?
It's definitely not cheap.
It's definitely not cheap. So it's not even like a Photoshop.
I mean, it is a beast of a program, and I think within like 5-6 years, it's probably going to be like the program that everyone's using. Like as far as you're not going to be going from Maya to this to Houdini. It's just going to be all Houdini.
I see.
Like it has the potential to do that. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it definitely has the potential to do that. Yeah.
It is nice because every time you move from one program to another, even Photoshop to Illustrator, sometimes
you have to get used to the interface and like the keys and all that stuff.
Sure. Or there's just compatibility, like some type of compatibility challenge or something like that.
For sure.
So what's like the most recent piece that you did as a personal piece? And maybe you can give that to me and we can flash it on the screen when we're talking about it.
Sure. Yeah. My most recent piece is called AI, Artificial Intelligence, and it's just still of this female-looking like android creature robot, I guess. And it's kind of we are at the time right now where artificial intelligence is creeping up and making itself very apparent in our culture and our conversations and all that stuff. So interestingly, I watched what's that movie? Ex Machina.
Okay.
And it was kind of the inspiration behind it.
Okay.
I had a lot of fun on it. I used a lot of like 3D render passes and a bunch of like weird trickery, and I like the way it looks. I'm pretty proud of it. Yeah.
Okay. And then once it's done, do you have a website that you post them up like as a product and you could like sell prints of them?
I do. My website currently is catalystvisions.xyz.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And how many pieces do you have up there right now?
I have. I don't know that number right now.
Okay, so it's not 3. It's
not 3.
Okay.
It's okay. I recently just created the website and I kind of dumped everything I have on it. I'm still like organizing, setting it up, so I don't remember exactly.
Okay, what are you using for your website?
Squarespace.
Squarespace. Okay, and it's working well for you.
It's working great. I'm not in the whole website thing like you are, so it's like it's simple enough for me to just drag and drop and make it work. So
okay, it's a whole nother visual interface pretty much with interactivity.
Sure. Yeah.
So, and I remember like when you were in school and there was this one, like I think it was like a final exam project or something. It was like a person in space, was it?
Oh yeah, the astronaut.
And it was super like realistically looking. What is that called to make something like that realistic that is different from other programs? I don't know. That seems like it's something unique. It's almost like I don't even know what to call it.
So that's just basically a render.
It's a render.
And so that was, the combination of programs used to make that particular piece. That was the first thing on my demo reel for my 3D stuff.
Right. I mean, I remember when you were going through the process.
Yeah. So like I sculpted that in ZBrush based on a concept by this artist that I can't think of his name right now. So like I didn't create the concept or the 2D concept. I just recreated that 2D concept in 3D. Okay. So I, like sculpted it out, created the vehicle behind this spaceship, that crashed spaceship behind her, like the ground and everything, and then used a program called Mari, which is industry standard texturing program for the beginning of the pipeline, the character artists, creature artists. When they're done sculpting, they take it into this program called Mari, and they texture it, and it's like super high-end detail. You can get like 16K resolution textures out of it. It's crazy.
16K. Jeez,
yeah.
I know the
you can probably go higher than that, but yeah.
Jeez, I didn't know that existed yet.
Well, yeah, the close-ups.
It like improves your vision as you look at it. Like it's
yeah. You start noticing things that you don't want to.
So like Apple just came out with that 6K monitor. I would love to.
Yeah, that monitor stand, man. That's a sexy stand. Yeah, it's like $1,000.
Yeah, and I know I have like a big monitor on my own, and just like I've got like my MacBook, with the Retina, and then I've got this like big like a curved monitor, but I know just like the resolution doesn't even hold a candle. Even the color's a little bit different. The brightness isn't as bright. There's like certain things, and I know there's even like devices you could like put on the screen to like test the color.
And you can calibrate it too.
Yeah. So that's there's so much tools out there. I don't know. It's really a fun environment, and like the way I've kind of been describing it, I know there's a lot of negative connotation or negative attitude when it comes to the digital space. For some reason, you've got this look of like people staring down at their phones, like lost in their phone. But the fact of the matter is, I think, is that we've accessed another dimension. We have our spiritual dimension. We could close our eyes. We can imagine seeing, smelling, tasting, listening, touching. So we've got that space. We've got this physical space right here. This digital space is kind of something in between. It's a whole other dimension on its own. And it's, a great term that, was used in the computer development world was, when Windows came out, because you have these windows. And that's really what we've been seeing seeing, and not even on your phone, it's a window into this world. You're not in the world. You're
into
just
this potential.
It's a potential. And I really think that, I don't know how soon, but relatively pretty soon, in our lifetime for sure, we are going to transcend the phone, and we'll probably have like a phone device on us, maybe like the hard drive, and then everything will be through AR, some type of glasses, contacts or whatever, lenses, and it won't be in this little thing. So people are making it negative, or one of the reasons I think is because you're focused in this one area, but this is a stepping stone technology to the digital dimension being integrated into our whole world, and where we're eventually going to be like this, very much
it's going to be all AR. It's all going to be AR. Like, it's going to take over. Absolutely.
I agree. And that's why, like, really from the beginning, we're looking to have on the Legends platform, we're looking to have AR and VR both integrated. And sometimes, if like, let's say you're creating, let's say you've got a visual story that you're telling on the platform, and then it takes a certain amount of time to create, let's say, one still piece, right? And so maybe over time you've got a collection of 10, 20, maybe there's chapters or something like that, and then eventually you say, like, well, I want to start doing this, there's a VR element, I want to bring this in VR. To do that entire thing in VR would be really quite a feat, but you could do a part of it and then integrate that part of it into your stills, so people can kind of get a taste of, hey, do you want to see this whole thing get converted? I'm going to need this much money to make that happen, and then everybody knows, oh wow, okay, we would love to see that, and then you get funding for it. So I'm really excited. I definitely want to be create in that AR VR space. I think there's just tons of potential, and also the immersive experience world, and also just like even in day to day or in cars or whatever. So I'm very excited about that. I'm very pro digital age, and I believe in balance. I understand you could be imbalanced with anything. You could do anything too much. There's people who are obsessed with washing their hands or something and do it too much. Obviously it's not bad to wash your hands, but it's about balance at the end of the day. So one other question I wanted to ask is, when it comes to, what's the current thing that you're working on that you want to see kind of go from start to finish? You were saying you were interested in exploring animation. Let's say like you are completely funded at this point and you didn't have any other work that was not necessarily that it wasn't fun or anything, but it's like it's not in your most high interest, right? So money's no issue. You have the freedom to create. You can even recruit people to build a team. What's that project that you want to create or are looking to create?
I would love to get into Houdini and Unreal and create like visual content, like just abstract psychedelic content. Maybe there's some narrative in there. I don't know, but that's the world that I want to jump into. I'm not giving you like an exact answer, but I would say that if I had that opportunity with the resources, I'd probably jump into that pool and see where that goes.
Psychedelic content,
visuals, using this program Houdini, like I mentioned, you can, oh my god, it's crazy, like you can do some crazy stuff, and I would like to tap into that.
I just went to the Wisdom Pink Floyd. Have you seen that? Yeah. There are some parts in that visual art, and I could see I'm definitely entertained by it and mesmerized by it right now, but I also see so much potential. It is very much in like a Nintendo stage.
It's the beginning phase. Totally.
But to be like, okay, like literally, like this is, very transformative. Like this is going to change everything. I mean, and how it's going to integrate with the real world is going to be really interesting. But to me, this is at the forefront. And I also think that as technology improves, and people talk about, like kind of like this job, like we're worried about jobs like going away and stuff like that over time because of technology improvement. And I think while that may be true in some cases, I think there's always going to be jobs in art and entertainment.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of a very secure job. It's also very like, the pricing is all very subjective. It's not like really a demand, supply and demand type thing. I mean, you look at people like, I don't know, like Mr. Brainwash, if you remember him, he was doing some pieces and then like charging like 30 grand for the piece or whatever. So, I'm just kind of excited to see how that whole environment is going to evolve. But I do kind of see even our cities and stuff like that. I think LA is a good example. And we have our challenges here, but we are same thing with San Francisco, a very creative city. We just put our visual artwork everywhere. You go anywhere else, there's nothing like it. So what we see, I think, is just like when the work is done, when the food is grown and you've got your food and you've got your rent paid and you've got all this. What are you doing after all of these like survival things are done? You're going
baseline things.
Play. Yeah. You're going to play. You're going to create. You're going to go to places like Disneyland. You're going to go to music festivals and things like that. So I think that's why I really love being in this industry. Plus, it's a place where we can innovate in a way and give people I love inspiring people. I love being inspired, and I think that just makes me want to inspire people. But I think you also have an ability to bring in worlds that kind of help shape our culture. Harry Potter. There's multiple Harry Potter coffee shops. I think there's a new one that I'm seeing that's opening up. I went to one in Vegas, but there's a new one opening up here. People are so inspired by these stories that are coming out that they end up like literally creating physical spaces that are permanent. That are within that realm. So there's something about the manifestation process, and as a visual artist, you're somebody who's kind of at the forefront of bringing the idea to the reality. You're enabling people to see the potential, and then there's the 3D experience from that point forward. So really bringing it into not being subject to the physical limitations.
For sure. I mean,
so we're talking about the digital world and how there's limitations that we have in the physical world that just do not exist in that digital world. So it's really unlocking tons of potential.
It is. There's a lot of potential to it, and I think we need to remember that these are like modalities for us to show people, different ways of looking at things in the world, different ways of thinking about things, creating new neural pathways, and just showing like people that the potential is infinite, and I think it can go very far with that.
And I'm excited. I mean, you're saying psychedelic visuals, which is something that I really, enjoy. And I think, Pink Floyd is obviously one of the biggest influencers of something like that with their shows. And also I just watched the Alice in Wonderland original cartoon recently, which also just kind of explores going into other worlds. And that movie is actually jam-packed from start to finish with song, with just the visualization. And I just feel like there's so much that could be done with that theme of like going down the rabbit hole and going into this other dimension. So I really think there's tons of potential for you to explore.
Absolutely.
So cool. So I'm excited to see that. And do you have any partners that you're working with right now? Are you collaborating with anybody?
I'm actually collaborating on a project with one of my good friends, Taz Lemire. I don't know if you know him.
Was he at the Hai Lung show?
Yes, he was.
Okay, I met him briefly.
Yeah, he's an amazing photographer. Just full on awesome dude. He's he collaborates with people, and he's recently shot this short. And I'm gonna be providing visual VFX to it, basically. So that's my most recent collaboration. It's still in the works, but yeah.
What do you use to add VFX into like something that's actually just shot in the real world?
So like I had mentioned earlier, this program Houdini
can just do that too.
I'm using this project as an opportunity for me to learn it, and so I know a little bit of it, but like this is kind of my approach with learning this like behemoth of a program. Is like collaborating with people and doing little things here and there, and then kind of like inch your way up the learning curve of this program.
And so what would you kind of like to see for yourself in like the next like 3 to 5 years? Just kind of like a goal me coming from like my financial advisor world, like what are your goals? Where do you want to see yourself? Like let's say you get that opportunity to work on those projects, or you're looking to just bring out awesome content for people to enjoy, hitting as many people as possible. Like, well, I don't know, what are you seeing?
Yeah, like kind of all of the above. And, so I'll start like career wise, I guess. Right now I'm in like production, which is, very much like it's work regardless, but it's like you're recreating other people's content, or you're like recreating celebrities to look like themselves in 3D. Which is fine, it's fine. But I want to kind of shift from that role to more of a concept, like a 3D concept artist, creature work, like stuff like that. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on as far as my career goes. As far as my personal work goes, yeah, it's been a little rough kind of balancing out my career with my personal work since I got into the industry like 3 years ago now. So kind of working on that balance and creating more of my personal content, personal art, like I did before. So yeah, that like I have like a ton of pieces that are just sitting there, ready to be finished and shown off. So like so that and then along with that, like learning these programs that'll enable me to create even more new personal art. So I mean, I think that'll take about 5 years.
Okay.
I don't know.
Sounds good. Okay, well then I've got some questions to ask you about the technology you're using, not the programs you're using to actually create the work, but to actually get your work out there. So this is from the personal standpoint. Okay, so as someone who's working to put themselves out there on an independent level, so after your daily day job tasks are handled, you're creating with all these awesome programs, you're creating this work. Let's say the work is done. You just said that you're using Squarespace for your website. And I just think a lot of people who are listening to other artists working to kind of, make revenue on their own with their own works, I think they're interested in just hearing, they're all trying to do that as well. And they kind of are interested in hearing like what other people are using and what's working, what's not working. So what, besides building your own website, what apps are you using? What programs, technologies are you using to get your work out there for people to experience, to connect with people, to connect with community? What are you using? And then also what challenges are you having? Like what errors do you think are in the system or flaws that you think can be improved?
Yeah. So for a while there, it was mainly my Facebook artist page, which is still up and it's great. But, Facebook's just gone through so many different like changes that I've just kind of basically stopped even paying attention or trying to keep track with them. So these days it's mostly Instagram, really. And in all honesty, I'm not that active in trying to sell my art right now. That I'm slowly starting to build back up, and I want to trigger that, make that happen the proper way. So I'm kind of in research phase right now as far as that aspect goes. I like the idea of Patreon, but I think I like the idea of Legend better. Like Legends, sorry. That's looking pretty cool. So I'm a bit I've kind of hit the brakes on it, so I can like do the proper research and do it properly when the time is right. But I do have an online store. It's through this website called Imprint.
Okay.
And if you
print on demand,
print on demand, okay. Yeah. So I have some pieces on there. You can order if you'd like.
How do they search you? Search your name?
Yeah, you can look up. If you search my name, you'd have to. There should be a better way to do this, but you'd have to go to my artist page, and there's a link to my Imprint site.
Okay, I see. Yeah. But you could go through Imprint and then also put your name in the search?
Yeah, you can put my name in the search and find me there that way too.
Abhi.
My name is Abhi. That's my first name. Last name is Thati.
Yeah, and we'll have it also printed on the cover and in the title and stuff as well.
Cool.
Okay, and so you were looking to create a Patreon account, which for those of the viewers who don't know, Patreon's like a crowdfunding platform that's reward based, which means they're not giving away like equity in their business as a creator or anything like that. They're basically giving some type of reward. In this case, maybe for Abhi, it would be like a prints or something, maybe limited edition signed prints, and people are basically contributing once a month to keep Abhi going, to basically fund him to be his patrons. And so it's different than Kickstarter or Indiegogo in that he's not just trying to raise like a lump sum right at one point in time to build one giant project. It's more of like an ongoing recurring revenue thing with ongoing support from patrons, which is actually what a lot of people are using right now. When I went to Comic-Con, I went a couple times. Once, not last year now, it's going to be the year before last year. I actually went twice. We had a booth there at one time, but a lot of people are directing people to their Patreon. A lot of YouTube people also, they direct people to the Patreon. Patreon's basically a place where people try to funnel, or creators look to funnel their viewers to, or their fans to contribute. But that's pretty much it. It's very much like kind of like a place where you can kind of display what the deal is. And I think, it's a really good stepping stone technology that's out there, but definitely Legends is taking somewhat of a similar model in that it's kind of subscription based. I know we call it crowdfunding, but in a way and crowdfunding is this nice new shiny object of a word, but it really at the end of the day it's like pre-sales. It's like if you just pay me this, it's a subscription. It's like a subscription and even like Kickstarter or something like that, in a lot of ways it's just pre-sales. It's like, hey, we want to make this product, we don't want to go through investors. We would like the people who are going to purchase the product to invest so we can make it in advance. So it's a pre-sale structure, which is interesting and which is amazing, because I know a lot of people are, a lot of fans are really challenged by investors having too much influence, and the profit having too much influence over the creative process and over the work. And I like to use Tron as an example. I think I might have done this in another interview before. But so with Tron, Disney's Tron, right? The remake, which I love, by the way. It's simple in some ways, but it's the repeat watch. I just like put it on in the background when I'm doing something, or I'll like rewatch. It's just like a fun movie, but it was a success. It made profit, right? So it didn't like lose money or anything like that. It made a profit, but it didn't make enough profit to where they just went and made another Tron movie. So in that case, it's funny because the demand was there. People liked the movie enough to where it profited, but because it didn't profit enough, we're not getting more Tron right now. And so
they made a second one, didn't they?
They haven't. No, they haven't made a second. No, if they did, I hope I missed it, because that means it's there for me.
I think they did, and I think it was not that good.
There was the original remake,
and I'm talking about
and then there's one after. I'm pretty sure, but I really hope I'm wrong. I'm still going to use it as an example.
No, it's great. I didn't mean to like.
If I'm wrong, then that's fine. But basically, the idea is that if there was no investors in that project, and it was strictly like, hey, fans, do you want another Tron? It's going to cost this much. Here's how much the actors want to be paid. Here's how much it's going to cost to get produced. Here's how much it's going to cost for Daft Punk to do another do another score, and you get this number. That number would pass, and a new Tron movie would get made. But because the profit margin for people who were not participating in it, but they were just investing in it, because that wasn't high enough, we're not getting that. So I think we're seeing a lot of really amazing stories not get made because of the profit margin factor. And the reason why I'm kind of going through this, saying this, is because this is what makes patrons want to contribute to projects, is because they're like, wait a minute, we can make it to where this project gets funded and the creator gets to stay in control over their creative work and their creative process, and it's not going to be muddied up in a way by a different agenda, which is an innocent agenda to make profit. I mean, you invest in something to make a profit. That's one of the main reasons people do it. But in this case, you kind of remove that. You say, no, people are investing in it. They're investing in it because they just want to watch it and they want to view it and they want to participate. So that helps, I think, connect the creators with the fans more, and it creates a more cohesive base. And I think, and I've kind of bring this subject up because it is a pretty hot subject right now, in that there are big stories out there, aka like Star Wars, Game of Thrones, projects like that there's a lot of fan turmoil going on because of what is influencing the creation of those projects. And so this, for Legends, just segueing into Legends, we're going to have more of an environment that is friendly for fans and creators to communicate with one another, and to kind of remove the third wheel in a way, make the fans the investors in a way, though it's not a traditional investment. They are investing their money because they're getting access to maybe some part of your content now, but they're also investing in the future of that content, making you move forward. So we talked a little bit about Patreon, Instagram. I agree. There's a lot of pros to it, but I think, as I've said before, and I'm going to keep saying, 1 out of every 4 posts is an advertisement, and I don't think there's any way around it. You can't pay extra money to make those go away. You will be advertised to 1 out of every 4 posts. And I think it gets challenging enough as it is with their structure. Same thing with Facebook. where you pretty much have everybody in one feed. I think Facebook used to have something called Facebook lists, where you were actually able to organize, I can make a list of these people.
Remember that,
and that's Google Plus had it down. Google Plus was superior in that way. It had circles. So I could say friends and family, visual art.
They still have that, right?
Nope. Google Plus they took it down, or it might be just for business now, but I had like 7,500 followers for one of my other companies. And I think I lost all of those people. But it was in some ways a superior platform where you were actually able to say, hey, I just want to view visual art right now. I don't want to look at cat pictures. I don't want to look at family pictures right now. I want to post about visual art, look about visual art, and comment on it from my favorite, from Android Jones and these other artists. And so you don't really have that opportunity. You're literally just stuck with this like universal feed with only 75% of it being stuff that you actually look at, and some stuff that you're actually following that you're not even getting access to unless somebody pays for advertising to get you there. So
it's pretty lame.
It's challenging. I mean, again, it's stepping stones, but it also just paves the way for something new to come along. And that's, I think, where we're looking to kind of come and provide a solution to enable creators and really entertainment seekers to say, hey, where's this? This is one place I can go to be connected to the production process, to the market, and to connect with creators, and to experience the content, to talk about it with other people, to learn about the funding. So to have it all in one place, to have an entertainment ecosystem, as I like to call it. So I think it's a proper timing for something like that to happen.
I agree. Absolutely.
And I think there'd be a lot of people who would, once we're going to have your work on the screen and do some slideshow. So I think there's going to be some people out there, they may want to hire you, they may want to use you for working on their project. And there's something else you said earlier I want to touch on. You're like, well, I'm the visual guy, like I'm not, is there going to be a story? I don't know. So maybe at some point you're going to come out with some let's say it's a few chapters of just this visual work, and it can tell a story. Maybe you have a couple bits, but you're not the writer. And so then you go ahead and kind of put out this offering like, hey, I'm looking for a writer. And the writer's going to be sort of like a shareholder of this project. I'm looking for a writer who can make this into a story. I'm taking submissions right now, and let me know your thoughts and ideas of how you think this story should go. And then find somebody who can play that role of being the writer for your project.
That's amazing. That's great. And maybe like, I would have maybe I'll give the writer a prompt or like a direction to go, and the writer could go in that direction based on the visual piece or whatever. Really.
Right.
Kind of like curated a bit.
Right. Right. Exactly. So, so we've talked a little bit about your history, what you're currently working on. We've talked about your day job. Did you want to say where you're currently working at?
I work at Encore VFX in Burbank.
Okay. And what kind of things do they work on? What kind of projects?
So they do mainly like the DC superhero shows on like CW.
Yep.
Like Flash,
Arrow.
Supergirl, Arrow. There's a new one, which is I think the coolest thing that we're doing, called Doom Patrol. And unfortunately, the DC streaming service is the only place you can find that, which is like the worst move they've made, because no one's seen the show, and it's actually pretty funny. I didn't
even know that existed.
It's great. It's a great show, and I like working on that part of it. But most of it's pretty like kind of cheesy, like kid-friendly superhero stuff, which is fine. Like,
the first couple seasons of Arrow were pretty good.
I
was watching those.
I haven't seen any of this, by the way.
Okay.
I just work on the characters.
Okay, but still, you're in that space though, which is a pretty cool space to be in.
It's a great place to work. It's awesome. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And it's okay. We've talked about your independent stuff, and I also, just before this, we started this interview, I gave you a behind the scenes overview of Legends development, which we're going to come out with another update here pretty soon after this interview. But we went through that, and you got to see some of the different features that are going to be on there. So what feature do you think, would you be looking forward to the most, you feel like is maybe missing from the ecosystem, let's say in absence of Legends? What do you feel like is a feature that you think is going to be, people are going to find really valuable, or that you're going to find really valuable?
I like the idea of the creator interacting with the fan, and all the way to the point where if the fan's like curious about learning the program per se, like the creator, like maybe there's like a tutorial platform. I don't know if that makes sense, or like the creator could create tutorials that could be integrated into that whole system somehow? Like, I mean, this is just kind of putting.
So yeah, it's kind of a great thing to say, and it's something I haven't specifically thought of, but the interface that we're creating, the builder, pretty much makes it able, as long as it's episodic.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be episodic, but I think it would be most constructive to be episodic. But if you had an episodic tutorial series,
that's
you could easily release that and say, hey, chapter 1, this is Houdini, you know, how to use this. And then again, to get access to those, you have the different crowdfunding tiers that people can use to get access to those. So it can very easily be used as a,
so it's already there.
Tutorial story, and it would probably be under educational, you know, and you click on educational, you'd search and say, okay, it's educational, I want to search for this Houdini program or digital art or whatever it is to find it. You see all these people, you're one of the people that show up, they click on it, they've got the profile for who you are as like a teacher with the tutorials, maybe a reel showing the different projects you've worked on, what you're teaching people, and then they're, oh, okay, I could get access to this right now, contribute to the one of the crowdfunding tiers, and then it'll be added to their library, and then they can get access to that tutorial series.
That's awesome. And that way they'll get exposed to you, like if they don't know who you are. And that's awesome. So in a way there's like a Udemy element, which I love, by the way. I study lots of code on Udemy. It's a great structure, but we're really bringing a lot of pieces together here, which I think is, you know, it's not just that either. There's definitely lots of new features we're bringing to the platform. But one of the major pieces is that there's all these kind of isolated functions in apps that currently exist that if they were in one platform and if they worked together to form an ecosystem, then I think that would just be way easier for people to create, to meet with one another, and then to publish their content, to get discovered, to get feedback, and then for fans to have a whole new type of experience where they don't have to go to all these different platforms to really learn more about that creator, about the work that they're, you know, the production that they're working on. They get their reviews, you know, so there's like the IMDb, they get the IMDb type of information. They get, you know, like the, like if they want to learn about the characters or something like that, kind of like you go to like fandom, right? And you could learn about, I always use like Thanos as an example. If you want to learn like Thanos history or something like that, you can go and look at everything about that character. That should be in your interface. That should be in your reading interface, or your experience interface. So to bring that all to one place, I think will just really create a new production entertainment platform. It makes really life easier for everybody and makes everybody more money. That would be the goal. And also the biggest challenge that creators face is discovery. So if we can enable people to get discovered easier, to get more people to enjoy and other people's work and contribute little bits amount of money each month, I think that would be a much healthier environment than what our creators currently have to work with. I agree 100%. I mean, creating, like you said, an ecosystem for it where everything's more cohesive it's a great idea. I think you're onto something. It's awesome.
Cool. Well, I'm excited to have you on. So Abhi will be one of the first people. He'll be a tester on the platform before it's released. So for those of you who've contributed to the StarScript crowdfunding campaign so far, he'll be one of the testers that are on there. You'll be on there as a tester also. So be sure to check that out. Just for everybody knows, at the time of filming of this, the website is actually down for a few days right now while we do some behind the scenes maintenance. And then once it's back up, you can go on there and just create a profile, an account on our temporary network, which is called the StarScript Network. But within a couple months, without any major delays or anything, within a couple months, we will be releasing phase 1 of the Legends story production platform. And if you want to experience that at that point in time, you will have to be a crowdfund contributor. You can do that for as little as $10. So be sure to visit our site in a few days and check out those different crowdfunding tiers. It goes for as low as $10. You could become a beta tester, and you could become a pre-alpha tester for $50. And then in the middle, we've got the Explorer, which is $25, and you can be an alpha tester and a beta tester. So basically, the higher tier that you contribute to, the earlier you get in, and really the higher influence you have over the creation of the platform, simply because that we're going to be in an earlier stage of development when you're giving that feedback. So we're going to be more flexible. If you give some feedback that's really constructive, where we're like, hey, well, maybe we shouldn't go this direction because we're in the beginning stages of development, we can pivot, we could alter our course and change that and evolve. But if you're contributing on just like the $10 tier, let's say, then you're going to be beta testing, so that's at a later stage of development. And though you will have influence, and we will definitely take your words to heart, and if you've got something valuable to say, we want to kind of help fulfill those needs that you're seeing that need to be fulfilled. However, we will be in later stages of development for those features. So definitely worth it, I think, to get on the highest tier. So hope to see you on there. And Abhi, it's been an awesome interview. Let's have another one at some point here.
I'm down.
Yeah, at some point here soon. I want to see your progress. I also can't wait to, once the first part of the platform, phase 1, is out and you've got your profile up, I'd love to showcase it, show everybody how a profile can be made for a visual artist as an example. Cool. So yeah, it's been great. And also for anybody out there who's watching this video, if you're watching it on YouTube, and you have any questions for Abhi and you see his work and you're wondering his techniques or any skills, how he's attained his skills, you want information about the schools that he's gone to or anything like that, be sure to leave a comment below. And if you want to see more interviews from the StarScript Observatory, go ahead and like and subscribe and ring the bell so you get notifications when new videos come out. We're looking to get an interview out from a new artist at least once a week right now from this point forward. So yeah, so let us know what you think. We look forward to hearing from you, and thanks so much for watching.
Thank you.